April 2nd has come and gone, and with it, a Nintendo Direct showing off the new features and games for the Nintendo Switch 2. And I think it's safe to say that all Nintendo fans should be pretty satisfied. It was a pretty good Nintendo Direct. You have things finally getting announced, such as Bloodborne 2 and Silk Song. So many things being announced, including a new Donkey Kong game, Donkey Kong Bonanza, which I'm curious how long it took them to come up with that name. But with it, so many good announcements. The Switch 2 looks very interesting. But I myself, my personal announcement, may not even be on other people's top 5 announcements, but as a hardcore and very, very biased Zelda fan, even the smallest announcements will go straight to the top for me. And that's exactly what happened. We got an announcement for the new Hyrule Warriors spin-off game for The Legend of Zelda Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment. And I must say, the trailer looked pretty awesome. A lot left to be announced, but it looks pretty good. Now, it goes without saying, it really shouldn't be shocking that a new Hyrule Warriors game was announced off the spinoff of Legend of Zelda, since Age of Calamity was such a success, and you had Tears of the Kingdom that was a success with some overarching lore that no one really knew what it was about. It was bound and determined to happen, and they ended up doing it, and it's going to pay off. While the game is not much of a surprise, I do admit that I have some questions, concerns, and some wants overall, and we're going to get into that right now. What's the story going to be? If it's going to be the same story with filled in details, how are you going to make that interesting? And it's safe to say that the story is going to show a little bit more to the sages, who, in my opinion, are some of the most forgettable characters in the history of Zelda. They literally do not do anything except have flashbacks where they're getting beat up. But that can be reconciled. That can be different. This could be one where we actually get to see who they are. The story will probably be Zelda, Rauru, and Sonya going to recruit them and to bring them onto the team and to help them to overcome any fears or any doubts they have and to join the team and to become sages. And then we'll probably get to see them how they fight. We get to see how they get to do it, because at this point we don't know anything about them except the fact that they were given stones and they lost in the final battle to the Demon King. So definitely a lot of development to go with the characters, and I think the story is really going to follow that, recruiting them and bringing them into the team and then getting that all taken care of. Interesting side note that came up to me, that the theory is that the names for the divine beast are the sages of old. Are these going to be the same sages? Who knows? It makes sense because they are sages and their face mask match all the divine beasts, so who knows? I think everyone's first question is, what's the roster going to be? At this point, we can confirm that there's pretty much going to be 7 playable characters, with the 3 main people in Minoru, King Ramu, and Zelda, and then the 4 sages. I literally cannot even say their names because we do not know their names. And I know personally, I want to play as the big 3. I want to play as Zelda again, where she was so much fun playing as, from the Sheikah Slate to the Light Power. You can see Minoru riding side saddle on a Zonai devices. You know she's going to have her construct, as we see. King Rauru is going to be awesome. I have a feeling it's going to be very similar to King Rome. But are the sages all going to be carbon copies of the other sages? Who knows? We don't know anything about them, as I've already pointed out. And I personally don't want to play as them. I want to play as Rauru. I want to play as Minoru. I want to play as Zelda. What is the power gap going to be between the 4 sages and the 3 main characters that we actually love? And who knows, Sonya could be in there. So right now, we're looking at max 8 people that we actually know of. But I'm sure more are going to get added. I'm sure they're going to add some DLC and such. But at this point, an 8-man roster is not a lot, especially when half of them are people we don't even know or care about. Now, this raises the question that I think a lot of people are going to have. Is Link going to show up? I'm going to say something I never thought I would say as a Zelda fan. If Link were not to show up, I would not be super disappointed. Because the reason why is they've already done that story before. They've already had it to where the future sages, the future champions, and help in Age of Calamity. Are they going to do the same story? How is the roster going to shape up? Because right now we have a max of 8 people that truly fit the bill of a playable character, and we don't know anything of the 4 of them. And all their abilities are probably similar to players we've already played before. I'm sure they're going to have move sets of their own. I'm sure they're going to be different, but who knows? But as I said, is Link going to show up? I won't be mad if he does, but it'll be really disappointing that that's the best story they could think of, is one that they've already done before. So I would not be upset if he doesn't. I would love to have Kotake and Kaume into the game. It's been heavily favored and theorized that they were either supposed to be in Tears of the Kingdom, but you can see them, at least I believe, in Tears of the Kingdom. You see them kneeling behind Ganondorf in the throne room. You see them standing behind it with basically nameplates showing their names, the gemstones on their head with red and blue. I know that doesn't mean too much, but that's what their actual gemstones are in their head. So I think that they were supposed to be in the game. I don't know what stopped them from not being in the game, but I would love to have them in this new storyline because they are such iconic characters. It would be such a great fight again with Twin Rova coming together, the combination. We'd get to see the effect that they had on Ganondorf and his rise to power. We'd get to see their sorcery skills at work. We do know, because of the Tears of the Kingdom storyline, that Ganondorf has some sort of magical abilities with the doppelganger of Zelda. We know that he couldn't create monsters until he got the secret stone. Some form of magic was at his control, whether that be his own or whether that be Kotake or Kaume. It doesn't matter. They would be awesome to show his rise to power and how they assisted it. Now, I know it looks a little weird because they do look young and agile, but we do know that they have the ability to live long lives, as we see in Ocarina of Time when they're 400 years old and 380 years old, even though they're twins. So whether it be through black magic or whatever it is, maybe there's a way that they were able to make themselves seem young or to stay young for a long time. We don't know. What we do know is they are iconic and they would be awesome to have in this game, and really cool characters that maybe you could get eventually to play as in the future. Maybe something like a Pura and a Robbie, where they tag team together. I don't think that'd be the case, but one can dream. And personal note, that would be an awesome intro for Link. If someone's down, right out of the wormhole comes Link with a parry to send heat or ice, whichever one it is, right back at him. That would be an awesome intro, and I'm totally down for that. Want number two, I've already talked about a little bit, a more cohesive and a better story. Now, that's a conversation for another day as far as how I feel about Tears of the Kingdom story. I personally am not a huge fan of it. I think it lacked a lot. I think there was a lot to be desired. I do not like how they structured it in the game, but I know there are some people who support it, and that's a story for another day, and we've already talked about it a little bit, but I think there's more that could be done here. Can you see the rising tension? Robert has offered him several chances to get peace, and yet he's refused to take it. Can we see Zelda finally learning to control her powers? We don't know how long she's been in the past. We do know she's been there long enough to train her powers, as Sonya's told her in one of the memories on how to do it, a little cheat code, and we know she's developed it. Could have been a week, could have been 10 years. We don't know. But what we do know is that she learns to develop her powers, and that would be something very interesting to see in the game, especially as she progresses and levels up. Number three, want, and this is absolutely never going to happen because it would make no sense story-wise, but this is also Zelda we're talking about. Lore and all of that stuff be darned. We're going to write whatever we want. That's cool. And so enter in what would be amazing is dragon battles. I know that act is forbidden, and I know you can't come back from it, yet Zelda somehow does. Who knows how they would write that into the story, but it would be very cool to relate that back to such as the Divine Beast fights in Age of Calamity. It'd be really cool. It'd be very interesting to do a dragon fight. It makes no sense possible how to do it, but once again, who cares? It would be awesome. The fourth one, and probably my second one in the game, is the same thing as Kotake and Kaume. I would love to see Nabooru return. Nabooru is a classic character that really has not gotten a love throughout the series. But it would be amazing to see her in this game and to see her advance and to help Ganondorf in the fight, and something happens that changes it, whether it be Sonya's death, whether it be the death of some other people. We don't know. We know that her gripe is hurting women and children. We know that from Ocarina of Time. She does not support what Ganondorf is doing. Could that lead her to changing and becoming a sage in the end? Could that lead her to overcoming her culture and becoming someone else. This would hurt the theory of that all the divine beasts are named after classic sages, but who cares? Nabooru is a classic character, and if she were to truly turn to see something happen midway through the game that Ganondorf did and that changed her ways, she could easily come over to the good side. It makes sense with her backstory, and it would be an awesome moment and an awesome turn, and that would make her a more interesting character than the sage if it's just a random person who's the king, who's the leader of the sages. Which, that's another thing that's going to be curious about the story is how are they going to relate that to, we know that those are commanders, we know that the Zora and the Goron and the Rito, they're leaders of their nations, but Ganondorf's the leader of the Gerudo. Does that mean that Nabooru is, or does that mean the sage that is going to help them was a commander at one time? It's perfect for Nabooru, who has always been known as the second in command to the Gerudo, and who turns her back. And this would also lead to a great personal battle between Twin Rova, which I'm really hoping is in there. I think we're all excited for the new game. I personally was not expecting anything Zelda, and whenever they announced that they were going to do a new Zelda News app, or they were going to redo Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild with enhanced features and so many different things, that's fine, that's great, but I never expected them to actually have a new game ready, especially after 2 releases in 2 years with Tears of the Kingdom and Echoes of Wisdom. But it seems that we're going to get a new game, and that's awesome, coming in winter of 2025, and I'm definitely going to purchase it, and it's going to be awesome because, like I said before, I'm very biased. Any kind of Zelda is a good Zelda.
Excuse me, Princess.
Ganon's up to?
Well, maybe not. Maybe not. Either way, I'm super excited, and I hope everyone is too. I appreciate all of you watching. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment. Tell me what you found to be the most exciting about the trailer, or what your biggest concerns or your biggest wants in this game are, or whether you're not even a Zelda fan and you just have wants and concerns for other games. You're excited regarding other things in the Direct, or the Nintendo Switch 2 itself. Go ahead, leave a comment, let me know what you think, and with that, see ya.